new price predictions for Thursday. We had some earnings like Microsoft earnings, big drops on Microsoft, even Meta, very big drops on Meta. Google is actually up a little bit after the earnings, a little push, about 4%. We also had some other earnings as in SoFi, the Visas, the Enphases had bigger drops and much more. We're going to go over all those sectors. We'll try to keep the video 20 minutes and under so you can kind of watch it out, but smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. And let's go over all new levels for a lot of these names. We're going to start off with the semiconductor space first, as we usually do. And we're going to start off with Nvidia. So Nvidia doesn't have earnings till like mid-November, so we're not really worried about Nvidia earnings for now. What we want to do is we want to take all the levels off the chart. There are no real levels to put on Nvidia. The only thing I may be watching on Nvidia, that if it comes back up and breaks this resistance level tomorrow around 210, we might get strength out of Nvidia tomorrow to go to more all-time highs. But if we don't really get that breakage, then Nvidia might just want to trend down a little bit. But there's really no play that I see on Nvidia, at least for right now. AMD setting up for a decent play. It broke that resistance level around 261.80. That's when I was expecting AMD to go to all-time highs. It pretty much did that. It actually opened at all-time highs, so it wasn't much we could do off that, and then it kind of dropped down. But it did break both of those smaller resistance areas. So for now, we're going to take all our levels off of AMD. The critical part of AMD is it has this support right around 258.50. So if we break that area of support on AMD tomorrow, then we'll probably start to see some downward movement on AMD. And be mindful, they have earnings next week on Tuesday. That's going to be a pretty big earnings. I might just play straight calls on them, or we'll see. I'm not really an earnings player, but we'll see what AMD. So that's what I'm kind of watching out for. But the two bigger plays on Nvidia is if we break resistance all-time highs, and AMD is if we continue that strength and keep going to all-time highs. It is getting a little slow in this area, not really big pushes, but we'll kind of see with the AMD front. And then if we go to SMCI, pretty stalled, same levels as SMCI, no real new updates on SMCI. They do have earnings coming next week on Tuesday, same day as AMD, so we'll kind of leave it at that. ServiceNow, a new stock that I want to make sure I update levels on. Haven't updated this one in a while. We have support right around 905. They are up after hours. They're up about 4%-ish to around 950s, but they still have some critical areas they need to break. They have this first resistance area around 956.25. That needs to break first. Once that breaks, then it might get a little interesting to try to play it back around 1,000, which is a bigger area target. So I think that would be a bigger play on ServiceNow that I'm kind of waiting out for. And we'll do all these plays in the Discord. Like today, I did about 5 plays today. I did a lot. Need to cut these plays down. But we did I only really played Palantir and Apple today. Lost one on Palantir, won, then lost on Apple, won again. And then Palantir, last play I did before I got off was a Palantir, and we did about 27% gain. That was the bigger one right there that made us the green today. So 5 plays I did today. Make sure you guys join the team. First in that description, you have elite yearly, and lifetime memberships. Lifetime comes with personal training where I teach you a strategy, how to understand price. So probably best bang for your buck. But first link in that description. So that's ServiceNow. Let's go over CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike has a support, smaller resistance on CrowdStrike. I don't really like the option chain too much, but 550.40. If we break that, probably looking for more all-time highs on Crowd. ARM, new resistance level on ARM is right around 176.65, and then your support is around 166.90. So nothing big I see right here on ARM. Pretty slow movement past 2-3 weeks. But yeah, I am waiting for something on some of these stocks. And then Cloudflare, testing resistance. So we're looking for Cloudflare to actually break to all-time highs tomorrow. So what we want to do is we could just clear out all of our levels. We could put a support at 225.10. That's what I'm watching out for. And as long as we stay above the support, looking for Cloudflare net to break above up to those all-time highs and more pricing. And then Tesla, looking for Tesla to still push up. Little slow day today on Tesla, really didn't do much. You look at the 5-minute chart, just a lot of zigzag, one little dip off FOMC, then came right back up. No real movement today off of Tesla. So we just want to be careful. It's a very slow movement in here. Support the same, resistance the same, targets the same. Still looking for those bigger calls for Tesla to rip up past the 500s. Then I think that is still possible on the Tesla front. So I'm leaving it there. And then let's go to Palantir. Boomed up to all-time highs. Like I showed y'all the Palantir calls that we did. This was why, right? Palantir, I was looking for it to go to all-time highs, especially once it broke that resistance level. Like I said in the video, I was looking for that decent push. So Palantir has had that push. Now that it has had that push, the next bigger play is I have to wait. So 195 will be the support area I'm waiting out for. They do have earnings on Monday. So tomorrow's Thursday and then Friday. There might not be a play until after earnings, depending on what they do for earnings. So that'll be pretty big. I'm looking out for on Palantir. SoFi stock, nothing really going on with SoFi stock. They did have earnings. They beat on EPS and revenue. But play-wise, there's nothing I see in there for a potential play. Energy, Enphase had a bigger drop. I forgot to play Enphase. I was going to do puts, but totally forgot. They did come out their earnings. They beat on EPS by a lot, and they also beat on revenue, but they did have a bigger drop. So they're very bearish. They're not really showing those signs of wanting to go up. You do have a support on Enphase around $31-ish. So if we break that, you'll probably see some more downward side. Also like CEG. Their earnings are about to come up next week on Friday, so we want to watch that closely. It is getting close to that resistance level, but it had a little pull down after hours. So CEG could start booming up to the 410s, 420s, but if it doesn't break that resistance level before earnings, then we probably have to wait for the earnings to actually come out. Now let's go over some of the Mag 7s with the earnings. So Microsoft, $250 billion deal with OpenAI. Well, I know a lot of us expected this to go up. It did go down, yielding about $50 billion a year. And it also owns 27% of OpenAI. Okay, I love Microsoft long term. I have long term shares. I'm just never selling it. But option wise, what could be the next bigger play? We have some supports right here around 521.40. We'll be watching out for that. And I think a bigger play on Microsoft is brewing. We just need to see how it's going to move after earnings. So like when it opens tomorrow, is it going to continue this drop? Is it going to try to go up? Like what's going to happen in this range for earnings, right? So that'll be the biggest thing I'm looking out for on the Microsoft front, but something could be brewing on Microsoft. I love it long term. And then also Meta came down after earnings. Meta dropped huge, way bigger than Microsoft. And I'm actually looking for Meta to continue this drop tomorrow. Okay, this is a very big drop on Meta. I was looking forward to see if it can continue that higher push, but like I said, we do have earnings. And we have our new support around Meta right around 690, 130. I'm looking for it to break this support tomorrow and actually continue the down. So I'm looking for some bigger puts on Meta tomorrow. I think might be good unless we bounce off the support and then go up. So that'll be pretty particular. But they did have their earnings. They did have a big push down, but I think this will lead to bigger long-term opportunity buys, especially if Meta starts to get back down to the low 6s and the 5s. That'll be a beautiful big buy I'm looking out for on the Metas. Let's go over Google McDougal. So got long-term Google. So Google literally had a nice push up about 5% after hours with their earnings coming out. So your new support on the Google Woogles is about 268.50, and that's about it. There's not really any plays I look for here, unless the only thing I would look out for is like a continuation type of play, which we'll look for in the Discord all live. Pretty much whether it goes down or up in the morning, we'll be looking for that continuation, probably buying calls in here, or the reversal, and then probably buying calls in here. That'll be two things we kind of look out for in the morning on the Google McDougals, but that's about it of a bigger play on Google. And then if we go to Amazon, I think Amazon has earnings on Thursday. Also, Apple has earnings on Thursday as well. I think they usually produce their earnings the same day. So same levels on Amazon, nothing really crazy on the Amazon front. Then also on Apple, Apple has earnings tomorrow too, so nothing really crazy on Apple. We'll kind of just wait for those earnings to kind of come out, and then that might be a little better. What might be a play, what might not be a play. Netflix did break support. Look for it to came down around that 1,000. I was like 1,080 somewhere down there. We did come down, have that push down there. So looking for Netflix to kind of drop some more. I don't really have any just big levels on it, but I'm just bearish on it. So looking for it to drop some more, then go up right now, unless we start breaking like resistance levels. Other than that, I'm pretty much looking for it to have some more droppage, I would say. Also, like Micron, let's update some levels on Micron. It is up a lot. Support around 222.30. If we can stop around this support and push off of that, I think that might be area I'll be looking for calls of a continued push to all-time highs. That might be something possible. Also, Intel support and resist levels are the same. I was waiting for that pull down. We had a little red day today, nothing major. But if we start coming back up and breaking like 42 or so, that might be call time for Intel to start going up as well. So those are some things that I'm kind of watching on those two stocks. It's all about what makes a stock a play and what isn't a play, right? Some price moving sometimes is just fugazi. There's not really a play on that stock. You don't have to look at a lot of stocks every day. I look at the same 11 stocks every single morning to scalp. I usually scalp every morning. That's my bread and butter. That's what I'm focused on. Anything outside of scalping is usually secondary to me, because scalping, I can be consistent, right? Consistently winning is the key, not just playing whatever's moving and nillygagging, right? But yeah, that's what I'm looking out for on the Intel front. Tesla. Oh yeah, we don't already go Tesla. Went over the Mag 7s. Okay, let's go over open. I did break resistance. New resistance on open about 815. New support on open is about 710. They got earnings next week. I don't really see much in there, but those are kind of the levels. CRWV test resistance fell. We'll still have to break that resistance to show strength of any like buying. They have a new support around 135.75 as well. They got earnings coming up in about 2 weeks, so that'll be crucial. But yeah, I don't really see much in here. And once it breaks that resistance, then I'll probably see it going to about the 155s. I also want to go over Bull. Bull has the same levels on Webull. Testing that support. If that breaks, we'll probably see Webull drop some more. So be cautious of that. Webull is something I'm watching out for like a bigger reversal. Okay, that's what I'm kind of watching out for on that one. And then Lyft has the same levels. They have earnings next week. I think that'll be curious, but no, nothing new on Lyft right now. Also, like Uber hasn't moved. The only thing new on Uber would probably be like a resistance area, and that resistance area will probably be around like 98.70, and then we have a new support probably around 94.60. They have earnings on Tuesday on Uber. They probably won't move until earnings. So just be mindful of that if you are watching Uber. Probably won't have any decent movements till the earnings comes out. So we'll leave it at that. Stocks that I'm looking out for to buy more heavier, SWK. I'm waiting for the earnings. We have Caterpillar. Caterpillar did amazing. We're up like over 120% or something like that on Caterpillar. But yeah, Caterpillar is literally just booming. I'm also watching Deere. Okay, Deere has earnings around November 19th. I'm looking for Deere to get some nice strength and start to push up, right? Kind of like Cat. So we'll kind of see. That's a potential I'm looking out for. Still looking to buy some more Pool long term. They're about to drop. STZ long term. Nike more long term, even Disney more longer term, even some other stocks that I usually don't talk about, but we're watching some bigger plays on like Verizon, very crucial. AT&T, we're looking for our next big buys on AT&T as well. They had earnings come out. Their earnings, they beat on EPS, down on the revenues, but I think AT&T is going to be a phenomenal buy. Last time we bought AT&T, we bought it right around here, and we collected on that run. I'm looking for that next big run on AT&T. So you want to watch out for that. There's a lot of stocks we play that I usually don't talk about. I just save all that for the Discord. But yeah, let's go over the retail. So Walmart's, Costco's, Target's. Walmart, I would say the bigger support on Walmart is around here, around like 182 in that area. If we break that, you'll probably start to see Walmart trend down more than up. So that's probably like the biggest thing I'll watch out for Walmart. Also, Target tried to go up, couldn't hold, and resistance, first resistance is around 97.20. Let's take this off, and then your support, kind of where we are now, around that 94.15 area, but I'll also put another support just in case I forget to update it later, around 90.50. So those will be your two supports on Target. Looking for a bigger reversal on Target as well to go up to like the 150s, over 100% gain. So it could do pretty good on Target. And then Costco's dropping more. Let's update to the levels on Costco. A lot of stocks. I would say your bigger support on Costco is around like 906. Let's put that on our, if it breaks that, we'll probably see Costco in the 8s, but that's where we want to see Costco. We want to see Costco down here. I think that will be a very good buy long term on Costco, which I'm waiting out for. I think that'll be like a bigger buy in that range. Let's go over some of the makeup side and beauty side. One is e.l.f. e.l.f. has earnings next week on Wednesday. Haven't updated these in a while. So we have support around 124.80, and then we also have resistance around 135.80. So those are the new levels on e.l.f. Last time we bought e.l.f. was I think somewhere in here in the 80s or so. So we made a lot of money off e.l.f. But I'm looking for that next big buy of the next reverse on e.l.f. So e.l.f. is something I'm watching, but these are the current analysts on it. Also EL, we've been buying EL. EL's nice. It still has a long way to go though. I want EL past the 200s. So EL's bigger resistance area is around 106.35. So we're watching out that. That would be a bigger buy that I'm looking out for in this area. Very particular contract for it to boost up. They have earnings coming out tomorrow, so they're going to be very crucial. I have them long term. If they drop, I'll just most likely buy them more, and they have a support around $96. Then another one we have is Ulta. Ulta did very good. We bought Ulta somewhere in here in like the low fours or so. So Ulta did pretty decently. They don't have earnings till like end of December, so I'm not really worried about earnings on Ulta. But they do have like a smaller support around 502. No new plays I see on Ulta. Kind of just holding the shares. I might even cut the shares soon. We'll see, because they did get very close to all-time highs. They just did not do it. So who knows? I might cut the rest of the shares on Ulta, but that's a little beauty side I want to add in there. And then HIMS broke support, like I told y'all. Probably just looking for more downside right now on HIMS. They do have support around 43.30. They do have earnings on Monday. I think that's like the biggest thing to watch out for in HIMS is their earnings. They have resistance around 48.15. So pretty much just waiting for the earnings. Eli Lilly, they have earnings tomorrow. So we're going to see how they do. Same levels on Eli Lilly. Nothing really has changed. Last time they had earnings, they moved pretty decently. And then UNH had earnings yesterday. They didn't really move that much. They beat on EPS and revenue, by the way, but not really moving that much. Pretty slow in here. Nothing. It's just nothing to do. So support around 346, and we'll just kind of leave it at that on UNH for now. CVS had earnings, but kind of slow, trying to break support. Got long-term shares of CVS. Might take a little bit off or not. We'll kind of see, but I think if it drops some more, that'll be some more buying. JPM, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley's, and Bank of America, they're all kind of stalled. Probably watching Bank of America to continue the run to break above like 53, 54s. We'll see. But that's the banks. Gold, same levels, same resistance, same support. Nothing really changed with gold. Silver as well. Touch resistance today. Had that pull down. This is why you want to watch A1 levels always. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Support around 42.70. We look at the resistance level. It just tapped resistance all through here and came down. So it hit resistance pretty good. Bitcoin, slow. No new updates on Bitcoin. Coinbase. Hood has earnings coming on Wednesday. That's what I'm waiting for. Also, Coinbase has earnings on Thursday, tomorrow. That's what I'm waiting out for. I think Coinbase might move decently. They did beat on their metrics by EPS by a lot, but their revenue was down, which wasn't a good sign. So they had a drop, but I think Coinbase might move good. Directional wise, I'm not sure, but I think they will move decently. MSTR also is about to have their earnings tomorrow as well. So we want to see all these, see how they do, see if they're potential buys. And then the S&P 500, man, the 500. Nothing real, no new updates on S&P 500 as in levels. We'll go over that in the Discord. But make sure you guys join the team. First in the description. Always remember, no recommendation buy or sell anything, but for educational purposes only. So do not trade anything you see or hear in the video. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.